Both of my childhood friends are super popular, but I'm just average looking. The day they confessed to the cute, struggling student, everyone gave me this look, like they were watching a juicy drama unfold. And then, Amanda says all cold and straightforward, "You're too ordinary. I don't feel anything for you." Mandy, with an innocent look, adds, "Sorry, if my sister doesn't like you, I don't either." I paused for a second, then walked past them, completely unfazed. I handed the envelope to that broke student. As my childhood friends looked stunned, I tilted my head and said, "Why do y'all think everything's about you?" Later on, I fixed my hair in the mirror and took a deep breath. Glancing at my watch, I realized school's been out for half an hour. Weird. Why haven't Amanda and Mandy come looking for me yet? Their teacher loves to go over time, but never this long. I grabbed my backpack and headed straight to their classroom. Peeking through the window, I noticed hardly anyone was in there, but I clearly saw it. A guy in a white shirt, sitting right between Amanda and Mandy, explaining some lesson. I know him. He's Mike, the top student the school really wanted. Day one, he shows up at school and bam, his photo ends up a hot topic on the forum. Everyone calls him the unofficial king of campus. Right then, Amanda, who's usually super quiet, laughs softly at what Mike's saying. Propping her chin, she looks lazily at him. "You're amazing." Mandy, lively as always, made a cute heart sign and praised. How did I not see that inequality before? "Mike, you're a genius." The warm sunlight painted them perfectly like a peaceful oil painting. But to me, it was blinding. I knocked on the door and tried to sound casual. "Not heading home yet? I'm starving." The lecture paused. Both of my friends looked up at me. Amanda had a hint of annoyance on her face. Mandy glanced at her sister, then pulled me into the hallway. With a smile, she explained, "Leo, don't get the wrong idea. My sister's just asking Mike for help. He got here and already topped our year. Does asking for help mean getting that close?" I wanted to say more but just mumbled, "How much longer do you need?" Mandy didn't really answer. She leaned in, checking me out for a bit, then said, "Your perfume is way too strong today. Sis wouldn't like it." I paused, with Mike's clear voice still talking math in the background, which I couldn't catch a word of. Is it really that strong? Just as I was zoning out in the mirror, Mike got up to pack his bag. Amanda frowned. "Not gonna continue?" Mandy whined playfully, "Mike, there's no rush home. Keep going." But Mike took his bag, his tone cold. "You should ask the teacher for help, not keep me here endlessly." And with that, he left, without even a glance at me. Yet as he walked past, he made sure not to bump into me. Mandy, rushing after him, almost knocked the mirror from my hand. I frowned and followed them. Honestly, I thought they'd get mad at Mike for his bluntness. Especially Amanda. I know how proud she is. But nope, they just followed him, not too close nor too far. Like two princesses following behind their knight in shining armor. "Sis, he's just excellent," Mandy gushed. "Teaching so well, he's a star. Such charm. First time I've ever lost to a guy. It's a fresh feeling. You agree, don't you, sis?" Amanda just nodded lightly. Listening made me uneasy. When we got into Amanda's chauffeur-driven car, through the window, I saw Mike helping his mom at her food stand. Mike's from a struggling background. His mom has trouble walking and often sells pancakes after school to make ends meet. Mandy obviously noticed too. She shifted the talk from his grades to his character, saying he's the most dutiful guy she's ever met. Amanda didn't say much, but her gaze showed admiration. I watched Mike's handsome face for a few seconds, sighed, and shut the window. Inside, I envied him, envious of how easily he draws attention. When we finally hit the suburbs, I jumped out, eager to get home. But Mandy called out, "Leo." She looked genuinely sorry. "I'm so sorry. I think I ignored you earlier." All the resentment I pent up during the ride, it just vanished at her words. I figured they didn't mean it. I've always been kind of invisible anyway. So, then I heard Mandy begging, "Tomorrow, when you bring breakfast for us, could you grab a meal for Mike too? He always skips breakfast and that's so unhealthy." I froze. For a while, my voice finally came through. Detached? Sure. Next morning, up bright and early, I hit the kitchen and whipped up sandwiches. Secretly, I made Amanda's favorite flavor. And yeah, her icy demeanor melted a bit when she took it. Mandy and she have similar tastes and even praised, "Leo, you make the best sandwiches, even better than our cooks." Normally, I'd be thrilled by the compliment. But maybe last night shook me. Their praise wasn't as satisfying. Instead, my heart felt heavy, like something sharp was stuck. To distract myself, I went to their class the second the bell rang. And what do I see? Amanda tossing the sandwich in the trash. I froze, then ran and picked it up. What does this mean? It was my first time speaking to Amanda with such an angry tone. But she seemed unfazed and just raised an eyebrow at me. Asking smugly, "What's the problem?" Mandy was chatting with someone else. But when she noticed the tension, she came over and put her arm around my shoulder. She whispered in my ear with a giggle, "This is Mike's sandwich. I gave it to him earlier, but he didn't want it." My sister was a bit annoyed, so she threw it away. My mind buzzed in confusion. "He rejected you, so you just stomp on my feelings like that?" Hearing this, Amanda's face fell and she said defensively, "We couldn't finish it, so why not throw it away? Do you think your sandwiches taste that great?" Mandy chimed in to back up her sister. "Leo, why are you being so stingy? Do you want the stuff you gave us back?" She added, "And honestly, Leo, you only know how to make a few types of breakfast, and my sister and I are kind of tired of them." Hearing this, my face flushed with anger. But I didn't know how to argue back. So I just pushed Mandy aside and stormed out of the classroom in embarrassment. I ran to the artificial lake without stopping. Out of breath, I came to a halt. Just then, I heard a familiar voice. Looking up, I saw Mike under a tree, seriously memorizing English words. From my angle, I could see his sharp chin and those long lashes as he looked down. It was strange, despite the plain uniform. There was something about Mike that made it hard to look away. I pouted, planning to sneak away. But some soft cat meows caught my attention. Two chubby orange cats appeared out of nowhere, circling around Mike's pants. He closed his notebook, crouched down, and gently patted their heads. "Little guys, you've got the wrong person. I don't have any food for you," he said softly. The cats seemed to understand and whimpered in frustration. They were so cute. Watching this, I found myself walking over without thinking. I handed Mike the sandwich and said quietly, "I have some extra food." Mike was taken aback for a second, but he soon took the sandwich and politely thanked me. He broke the sandwich into smaller pieces and gave me a portion. We silently fed the cats together. "Is there something on my face?" Mike turned his head and looked at me, his light-colored eyes curious. "Why do you keep glancing at me?" Caught spying, my earlobes started to burn. I finally blurted out the truth, "Because you're really handsome." Mike didn't expect this answer and smiled. "Thanks, you look good too." Even if he was just being polite, his gaze was so sincere it made my face heat up for no reason. So I cleared my throat and changed the subject. "No wonder everyone likes you, you're really something special." Mike looked a bit puzzled. "Everyone?" Suddenly, he seemed to think of something, and his expression turned a bit complicated. "Can I ask, do you like one of the twins?" My teenage secret was out in the open. I stammered for a long time, not knowing how to respond. After all, my crush on Amanda was pretty much an open secret at school. Hopefully, Mike didn't see this as some kind of rivalry threat. "I think you shouldn't invest so much into them," he said, choosing his words carefully at a slow pace. Just when I thought Mike was going to warn me to keep my distance from Amanda and Mandy, he shook the sandwich in his hand with a cool expression. "You know, Mandy gave this to me this morning, saying it was a breakfast she made especially for me. If I'm correct, wasn't this actually made for them by you? Honestly, I find their affection quite cheap. It's disrespectful to me and your hard work. They've let down your feelings." Even after lunch, Mike's words lingered in my mind. Even as a newcomer, he could see how indifferent the twins were to me. Was this childhood friend bond really worth holding on to? I looked at myself in the mirror, reflecting on Mandy's joke from 2 years ago. "My sister likes handsome guys, Leo. You probably don't stand a chance." Haha. But now I'm tired. Amanda never noticed my looks anyway. Why should I keep these exhausting efforts? Once I figured it out, I felt much lighter. Although that lightness vanished when I heard we'd be doing a 1,000-meter run in gym class. To lose weight, I'd only eaten some boiled veggies at lunch. Halfway through the run, my chest felt tight and my head was spinning. But I pushed myself to finish. The discomfort grew stronger. I fought the urge to vomit and wanted to wash my face in the bathroom. But before I could make it there, everything went dark, and I fell hard to the ground. A long cut on my knee started bleeding. I was in too much pain to get up, instinctively seeking help from those around me. I looked up and met Amanda's indifferent gaze. She just sat on the steps, watching my pathetic state with disinterest. Half my heart went cold. Fortunately, Mandy came over carrying her bag. "Aqua, can you help me?" I asked her weakly. Mandy bent down but only gave my arm a half-hearted tug. I looked up, confused. She tilted her head and said with mock regret, "Leo, I'd love to help, but we fought this morning. If I just help you out, my sister would be mad at me." She gave a cryptic smile. "How about you apologize to us first?" I stared at Mandy, unable to believe what I was hearing. Sitting there too long, people around started whispering. "Who's that on the ground? Don't you know? It's Leo from class 3. The guy always with the twins." "Really? I thought he was a looker. Why does he look so pathetic?" More and more eyes filled with mockery landed on me. I broke down, covering my face. I didn't want anyone to see my fragile state. Mandy still had a smile on her face, and she whispered softly in my ear, "Leo, why are you being so stubborn over a small apology to my sister? Could all be over." Anger churned inside me. I used all my strength to shove her away, trying to get up from the ground. But someone was quicker in helping me. Mike seemed to have rushed over, a sheen of sweat on his forehead. He propped my arm over his shoulder, glaring coldly at Mandy, and scolded, "Did a dog eat your conscience? A friend falls and you don't even help?" Mandy looked stunned for a moment, then hurriedly waved her hands, saying, "Mike, you misunderstood. I was just joking with him." She seemed really concerned about how Mike perceived her. So she changed her carefree demeanor, and with a good-natured tone said to me, "Leo, are you hurt? How about my sister and I help you to the nurse's office?" Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Amanda had also come over at some point. She bent down, wanting to take me from Mike's hold, as if assuming I'd agree. But why should I? A sudden wave of annoyance I'd never felt before rose within me. So, I stepped back, letting Amanda's attempt to help fall short. "I don't need it." I looked up at her, my expression emotionless, reiterating sternly, "I don't need your fake help." This left Amanda and Mandy speechless. It was my first time firmly rejecting them like that. Mandy still wouldn't give up and tried to grab my arm but was blocked by Mike. "By the way," he began, slightly lifting his gaze to glance at Amanda and Mandy, saying deliberately, bullying the defenseless, "It's really low of you." On the way to the nurse's office with Mike helping me, I kept my head down, avoiding eye contact. Noticing, Mike gently asked, "What's up? Is your knee really hurting?" I shook my head, staying silent. The pain in my knee was bearable. What scared me more were the strange looks people gave me. After a moment of silence, Mike softly said, "If you don't mind, you can tell me about it." I quickly glanced at him, then lowered my head again, feeling deeply insecure. "I think I'm really ugly." The words from earlier felt like daggers. Especially being called Scarface, it stirred up bad memories. In elementary school, there was a looks ranking list among the girls, and because of my freckles, I was named last. Everyone erupted in laughter when my name was called. Then, in middle school, a girl said straight to my face how ugly I was, even asking if I hadn't washed my face because of the freckles. The bullying from small groups about my freckles only intensified. "What do you mean, ugly?" Mike's puzzled voice snapped me back. He gestured for me to sit on a bed in the nurse's office. Then, looking down at me, he earnestly said, "When you smile, you have a cute dimple, and your eyes curve like crescent moons. If it's the freckles you're worried about, then I'll say this. They're marks left by angels, showing you're cherished and blessed." Hearing this, I stared blankly at him. Nobody had ever said that to me before. Could freckles really be symbols of angels? You often tell me how good-looking I am, Mike said with a sigh, sharing his own struggles. Fact is, I too faced harassment for my looks back in middle school. I just want to say, he continued, you shouldn't live by others' standards. The insults of the ignorant aren't worth letting them make you apologize for being you. Remember 4 words, you're really great. Before the school nurse approached to check on us, Mike kindly adjusted my torn clothes, saying, Leo, you're really great. Mike returned to class. I had insisted he go. On his departure, tears welled up, not from sadness, but gratitude. While bandaging my knee, I felt my body shaking from crying. Then the nurse started in 4, advising me, next time, make sure to eat properly. Don't rely on the nurse's office for low blood sugar. If I got it right, you're skipping meals for weight loss, right? Listen, being healthy is most important. You're in high school, focus on studying first. You can think about dieting in college. I nodded firmly. I started losing weight after a gathering 6 months ago. Mandy lost a dare and was punished by having to squat 10 times with me in her arms. She managed, but complained while setting me down. Leo, there's too much meat on your arms. I wanted to retort, but Amanda's strange look left me red-faced and silent. Quietly, I vowed to become thinner and more muscular. But today changed my mind completely. Like Mike said, outer beauty is my right, not an obligation. No one deserves to make me do something I never liked in the first place. With 4 months till the college entrance exams, I should focus on my studies. Once the 4 was done, it was time to head home. Packing my bag and stepping out of class, I realized it was raining. I hadn't brought an umbrella. As I contemplated my options, someone tapped my shoulder. Turning around, Mandy stood there, umbrella in hand, grinning. Leo, come with us. She moved aside, revealing Amanda behind her, holding an umbrella too, looking calm. I looked at them in silence. Inside, I still couldn't figure it out. After what went down this afternoon, how could they just act like nothing happened and invite me to go home with them? I pursed my lips and flat out refused. No. I turned to leave. But then, someone grabbed my backpack. Amanda let go and looked at me with a frown. Her voice was heavy. Leo, can you stop being so moody? I looked at her, stunned. You think I'm just being moody? She let out a sarcastic laugh, her gaze icy. What else? Isn't this just your way of getting our attention? Seeing things heat up between us, Mandy stepped in to ease the tension. First, she gave Amanda a look of disapproval and complained. Sis, why are you arguing with Leo? Then, she leaned in close to me and whispered, Leo, are you dumb? This is a perfect chance to get closer to my sister. I used to love rainy days. I get to share an umbrella with Amanda and have an excuse for some physical contact. Amanda always sounded annoyed, warning me to bring my own umbrella next time. But when I held onto her arm, she never said much. In fact, she'd subtly tilt the umbrella more toward me. Those little things piled up and made me fall for her, deeply and helplessly. But now, looking at the pouring rain outside, I realized I didn't like rainy days anymore. So I turned them down again. No. Mandy's smile froze on her face. Being rejected twice put both sisters in a foul mood. Amanda especially. She looked at me, lips curled in a sneer. Leave him. Let him get soaked. I put on my hood, ready to dash to the security office to get out of the rain. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a familiar figure. Mike was in the hallway, searching for an umbrella. I lit up and shuffled over to him. I had planned to casually ask, I forgot my umbrella. Mind if I walk with you? But when those clear eyes of his looked at me, I suddenly forgot my original line and shyly asked, Can I share your umbrella? Mike nodded, sure thing. He opened the umbrella, turned to me and smiled. It's a bit small, so stay close. I flashed a smile back. Okay. Mike's umbrella was indeed small. The tiny raindrops kept hitting us, soaking our shoulders. But neither of us cared. We just quickened our pace without a word. When Mike and I got to the school gate, his mom was already waiting for him. She resembled Mike quite a bit. When she spotted us, her eyes brightened, and she hobbled over, umbrella in hand. Mike rushed to her. Mom, didn't I tell you not to pick me up on rainy days? Why'd you come? His mom smiled warmly. I've been limping for years, darling. Don't worry. Then, she suddenly turned her gaze to me. Mike, is this your good friend? Before Mike could reply, I nodded eagerly and sweetly greeted her. Hello, ma'am. Her face lit up with a big smile. Seeing our interaction, Mike grinned too. He seemed curious, asking me, Leo, how are you getting home? Does someone pick you up? I instinctively turned to look for Amanda's family car. With my parents always traveling for work, I've been hitching rides with them for the past couple of years. To my surprise, the car was parked right next to us. Noticing my gaze, the previously still car started to rumble, as if preparing to leave. Mandy hesitated. Sis, it's still pouring. Are we really gonna leave, Leo? Amanda threw me a cold glance through the window. Let's go. Almost as an afterthought, she added, we don't have to worry about him. His parents don't. Why should we care if he appreciates it? The car started and drove off, splashing a bit of dirty water my way. Thankfully, Mike quickly used the umbrella to shield me. He must have overheard Amanda and Mandy's conversation. Looking worried, he asked, Leo, you okay? I admit, when the car took off, I felt a pang of fear and confusion, like I'd just been abandoned. But soon, that negative vibe got swapped out for something lighter. Watching Amanda and Mandy leave, I calmly said, I'm good. I'll just grab a cab. Mike and his mom, both super kind and patient, waited until I was safely in a cab before they left. Sitting in the taxi, watching the raindrops slide down the window, I realized I didn't feel lonely at all. That night, I had a dream. In it, I got bullied at school for my looks and wanted to tell my folks. But when I opened the door, they were having their usual shouting match. My memories of them are sparse. Always busy with work, never home. Even when they were, it was non-stop fighting. This turned me into someone who avoids conflict, always backing down in an argument. I dread hearing people argue. So when there's a disagreement, I'm usually the first to give in. But that time, something was different. They mentioned me. My dad was furious. Every time I come home, we fight. Do I owe you something? Let's get a divorce. My mom chuckled sarcastically. Fine, I'll take the house. You can have the car and the kid. We're not close. My dad frowned. Why should I take Leo? Why not? My mom retorted, you want me to take him instead? Hearing that, I quietly closed the door, shelving any thoughts of seeking their help. Back at school, that group still hassled me. They demanded I hand over all my pocket money. When I outright refused, they angrily dragged me into the bushes and beat me up. It was Amanda and Mandy who saved me. Coincidentally, they were not only my classmates but also my new neighbors. To show my gratitude, I put my half-month allowance in an envelope and handed it to them in person. At first, Amanda thought it was a love letter and seriously rejected me. I'm not into dating. Mandy, however, couldn't resist her curiosity and tore open the envelope right there. When she found out it was cash, she looked at me in surprise. Wow, sis, he's so cute. It's the first time I've received pocket money from a guy. I looked at them cautiously and said carefully, if you like, I can also give you my other half-month allowance. As long as you protect me for the next few days. Honestly, I'm really scared of that little group causing trouble for me again. I'm no match for them. I'm not doing well in my studies and I've mentioned it to the homeroom teacher, but she clearly didn't care. Amanda and Mandy exchanged a subtle glance at my words. Mandy stepped forward first with a friendly smile. You're quite an interesting guy. How about this? You don't need to pay us. Just be our obedient little follower, and we'll protect you. Okay? I was a bit dumbfounded. I instinctively looked toward Amanda, who seemed more reliable. To my surprise, she lifted her chin, waiting for my response. With her striking features, she looked down at me quietly. My heart skipped a beat, like fireworks exploding. So, in a moment of madness, I agreed to their request. I woke up from the dream. I rubbed my hair, wondering why I dreamt about things from the past. After freshening up, I put on my school uniform and grabbed a cab to school. Then I immediately spotted Mike's mom at the pancake stand. It was pretty early, and there weren't many people at the school gate. Mike's mom saw me and waved with a smile. I quickly walked over and greeted her with a good morning. She asked, "Leo, did you have breakfast?" I shook my head. Mike's mom enthusiastically made me a pancake, loaded with fillings and sauce. Holding the hefty pancake, I felt a bit embarrassed trying to pay her, but she refused to take my money, gently urging me to hurry to class. My heart felt warm. Passing by Mike's classroom, I saw him already there, memorizing ancient poems. The boy wore a clean and neatly pressed blue and white uniform. His side profile looked gentle and serene. I stood at the corner watching him for a moment, and for the first time felt motivated to study seriously. So, I didn't greet him and quietly headed back to my classroom. After concentrating throughout the morning, my head was buzzing, and I was struggling to keep my eyes open. The homeroom teacher, to boost our spirits, handed out the monthly test papers. I glanced at my not-so-great score, feeling even dizzier. After school, I gathered the courage to ask Mike a question about a problem. Mike patiently explained it to me. I understood at first, but hit a snag on one of the steps. My brain simply couldn't process it. But I was too embarrassed to ask him again, fearing I'd seem dumb. Mike seemed to notice. He pointed to that step on his scratch paper and asked, "Is it here that you're confused?" I shyly nodded. Mike smiled softly. "If there's something you don't get, just interrupt me next time, no need to feel embarrassed." I teared up, remembering how I had asked Amanda and Mandy for help with questions before. They explained too quickly I didn't understand, so I asked again. Mandy tapped my head playfully with a pen. "Oh, Leo, why are you so dumb?" Even though Amanda didn't say it, her furrowed brows made her attitude clear. They thought I was dumb and that I was annoying. After that, I developed a deep fear of asking others for help. But today, Mike shattered that fear. Even though Mike was just like Amanda, both being the quiet and aloof type, I'd never felt uncomfortable in front of him. Instead, I felt fully respected. Just as I was feeling moved, Mike picked 5 similar problems from his workbook and pushed it towards me. I looked up at him, confused. Didn't I say I understood? Leaning on his hand, he tapped the table with his pen, looking at me with a smile. "Well, go ahead and write. Show me through action that you really get this type of problem." Looking at the complex problems in the workbook, I felt completely overwhelmed. With a pout, I finished the problems and handed the workbook back to Mike for correction. There were a few minor mistakes, but overall it wasn't bad. Watching Mike seriously explaining things, a thought crossed my mind. "I want to hire you as my tutor." He seemed taken aback, not saying anything. Just when I was starting to regret making such a bold suggestion, thinking it might hurt his pride, Mike readily agreed. "Leo, thank you, I really could use the money." He swung his backpack over his shoulder. Under the sun, he held out a warm hand. "Let's officially start our classes tomorrow. You better pay attention." That evening, I went to the stationery store and bought a fancy envelope, putting in the tutoring fee I prepared for the next 2 months. I thought it made it feel ceremonious. Although Mike asked for the standard tutoring rate, I couldn't help but sneak in a little extra as a bonus. The next day, I brought the envelope to find Mike, only to find the classroom empty. I looked outside and saw on the sports field, someone had formed a giant heart shape with roses. My gut clenched with a sense of foreboding. When I ran over to the field, there was already a crowd of onlookers. I tiptoed to get a better view, seeing Mike standing at the center, his expression unclear. In front of him were Amanda and Mandy. A boy next to me, watching the scene, sighed enviously. It's like a drama scene, the school heartthrob getting confessed to by the 2 school queens. I wish I could experience that once. Someone recognized me and shouted, "Wow, Leo's here with a love letter. This is going to be interesting." Then, out of nowhere, someone shoved me forward. I stumbled a few steps and ended up right in the center. Everyone stared at me and at the pink envelope I was clutching. Amanda was just confessing her feelings to Mike. "Mike, you're the best guy I've ever met. I really like you." My arrival cut her off mid-sentence. Amanda glanced at me, then paused when she saw the envelope in my hand. She burst into a mocking smile. With her hands in her pockets, she said indifferently, you're too ordinary. I don't have feelings for you." Her words left my mind blank for a few seconds. Was Amanda talking to me? Seriously? I had no clue what she was thinking, so I ignored her and headed straight for Mike. Turning my head, I caught Mandy's sarcastic look. She shrugged, giving me an innocent face. "Sorry, but if my sister doesn't like you, neither do I." "Doesn't like me?" I hesitated for a moment, then walked right past them, unfazed. It dawned on me. Did Amanda and Mandy think the envelope was a love letter from me to them? Sounds crazy, but so hilariously mistaken. After handing the envelope to Mike, I faced the shocked expressions of the twins and tilted my head, puzzled. "What are you guys so full of yourselves for?" Hearing my response, chatter erupted among my classmates. Whoa, did Leo actually give a love letter to Mike? This like one of those enemies to lovers stories? I dunno, the envelope doesn't seem like a love letter. It's pretty thick, like it's got other stuff inside. But Leo totally has a crush on Amanda. Anyone with eyes can see that. Geez, can you guys stop spinning stories already? Why be so mean to Leo? He hasn't done anything wrong. I didn't care about what they said about me. I just stared at Amanda and Mandy, determined to straighten things out with them today. I've always acted beneath you too, which gave you the wrong idea that I was easy to bully. I chuckled bitterly, my eyes cold as I looked at them. Amanda turned her head away uneasily, snapping, "So, Leo, what are you trying to say? Quit being cryptic. You came here now to stop me and my sister from confessing to Mike, right?" "You?" She got cut off with a yelp, because I rolled up my sleeve and slapped her hard. Smack! What do I want to say? I let out a cold smile, firm and loud. "I want to say you're a jerk. You don't deserve my feelings." Amanda held her cheek. The slap mark was plain on her pale face, leaving her stunned. Mandy stood behind her, shocked too. "Leo, how could you hit my sister?" "Oh right, almost forgot about you." I raised my hand high again, slapped Mandy, and grinned. "Your sister's a jerk. You're a bit better, but not by much." After I said that, silence fell over the place. Then someone started clapping out of the blue. Scattered applause broke out around the playground. Mixed in were a few praises. "He's so cool. I can't believe he slapped them like that." Mike took off his headphones, closed the dictionary he was clutching, and kindly handed me a wet wipe. I took it, wiped my hands carefully, and laughed. "Feel free to like whoever you want, except Mike, but don't come acting like fools in front of me. Actions have consequences, you know. Slapping you hurt my hand too." With that, I took Mike's hand and left without looking back. After that day, my reputation soared again around campus. But when people talked about me, they no longer saw me as the twins' lackey. Even some junior girls started asking for my contact info. I politely turned them all down. I assumed that after the ordeal of calling them out, Amanda and Mandy would be too embarrassed to bother me again. But to my surprise, they started seeking me out more than ever, trying to be friends again. I just regretted not slapping them more that day. In gym class, the teacher announced we could do whatever we wanted. Feeling thirsty, I returned to the classroom to fetch my water bottle. After taking a big gulp, an odd taste hit me, and I frowned, trying to spit it out. Then everything went black. When I came to, I realized I was tied up with ropes. In front of me were a bunch of sketchy-looking thugs. Seeing me awake, they flashed malicious smiles. I tried to stay calm. "Who are you?" The leader sneered. "Who we are isn't important. What matters is you messed with the wrong people." Then, it turned into a weird performance. Each of them said something cliché and threatening. Their words made no sense to me, and my fear started to fade. I mean, who'd be scared of folks with apparent low IQs? Before they could do anything else, the door was kicked open. Cops rushed in, easily subduing the thugs. The once smug group quickly turned spineless and begged for mercy. And then Mike walked in. After untying me, he checked if I was hurt and asked anxiously, "Leo, are you all right?" I hugged him, shaking my head. "I'm okay. Did you call the cops?" Seeing I was fine, Mike sighed in relief and explained, "You didn't show up for our tutoring session, so I went to your classroom. People said they hadn't seen you since gym class." I tried calling you, but you didn't answer, so I called the police right away. He patted my back comfortingly, a trace of fear in his voice. Thank God you're safe. You don't know, my heart almost stopped when you disappeared. Although those thugs hadn't caused me actual harm, and hadn't seemed reliable anyway, it'd be a lie to say I wasn't scared. What if the cops were a bit late? I couldn't play around with my safety, risking whatever might have come next. After a brief scare from the police, the thugs spilled everything. As I had suspected, the masterminds were Amanda and Mandy. The gang leader admitted, those two paid us a lot of money to specifically scare Leo from the experimental high school. When he got really scared, they planned to swoop in like heroes and save him. The police who listened to the whole thing said, "This is just ridiculous." They immediately brought Amanda and Mandy to the station. At first, the two wouldn't admit anything. But once the police pulled up the transaction records, Mandy caved first. She said they just wanted to scare me, not actually hurt me. She even played the victim card. It's Leo's fault for ignoring me and my sister lately. He even blocked all our contacts a few days ago. Amanda wasn't as dumb as her sister. But other than admitting the mistake, she wouldn't confess to anything else, insisting it was just to scare me. At first, I thought they were just childish and self-centered. But now, I see them as both stupid and malicious, perfect examples of deceitful people. Too lazy to argue with these sisters, I made a statement and then went home with police escort. Anyway, Amanda and Mandy are adults. They should face consequences for their actions. In the end, the police detained Amanda and Mandy for 7 days for provoking trouble. During that time, their parents came to me, saying all kinds of nice things, hoping I'd sign a reconciliation paper. But I refused. Not sure which helpful journalist leaked the story, but the ridiculous kidnapping made the local news the next day. Amanda and Mandy were now infamous in City A. Meanwhile, their companies faced backlash too. Their actions were so outrageous that the school kicked Amanda and Mandy out shortly after for its own reputation. When I got home one day, I noticed a sign on the villa across the street saying the house was up for sale. Seems like they've moved out. Rumor at school says no high school nearby would take Amanda and Mandy. Their embarrassed parents sent them abroad to study. Leo, why are you daydreaming? Mike noticed I was distracted and pinched my cheek, a bit annoyed. I snapped back and apologized with a good attitude. Whatever, it doesn't really matter to me what's true or not. There's only one thing on my mind now: studying. With only 2 months left until the college entrance exam, I tossed those irrelevant thoughts out of my head and got back to my private tutoring session with Mike. The exam was over. Mike and I went back to school to pack our things. I suddenly found a letter stashed in my locker. Sorry, Leo. We didn't mean for this to get out of hand. Just half a year ago, we were walking to and from school together, eating in the cafeteria every day. You might not believe this, but we saw you as a true friend, maybe even more. We were too proud to share our feelings, so we tried to hide them by putting you down. Especially me. I was jealous that you seemed to favor my sister. So, I used sarcasm to get your attention and vent my frustration. You're not plain at all. Those freckles are cute. You're the best guy I've known. There was more, even new contact info. No name, but I could guess who it was. Is there anyone who can stop this? Why do these two have to annoy me even after moving abroad? They can't seriously think their apology is sincere or expect me to be touched and forgive them, can they? Mike noticed I was standing still. Leo, what's up? He asked, curious. I slowly tore the letter into pieces, then turned and smiled at him. Nothing, just found something unimportant. After organizing my books, I tossed the shredded letter and some old stuff into the trash. Then I jogged over to Mike, excitedly saying, "Let's go. I'll treat you to that amazing barbecue place." Mike followed me willingly. For some reason, I glanced back. A breeze scattered the shredded letter from the trash into the bushes, where it soon vanished as if it never existed. But who cares what those two think? I'm about to start a brand new chapter in my life.